How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the Magic Mushroom Speaks podcast. I'm your host, the one and only traveling psychonaut. On today's show, we're going to do things a little different. Today, we're going to speak with Devon, who has his own podcast, Diversity in Life. And today, we're going to be talking a little bit about UFOs, plant-based medicine, and entities. So before we start the show, I'd like to start with a quote from Paul Stamets. Mushrooms make people better. So without further ado, let's welcome Devon to the show.
Thanks for having me on, bud. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show. So, I guess since it's your first time on the show, why don't you just let people know a little bit about you, how you got into these subjects, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, man. So my journey with all this is a relatively short one, to be really honest with you. This whole discovery of mine into self-healing and personal development and just becoming a better person, more conscious, more aware of everything in your life, this happened just roughly a year ago. And I'll go ahead and give props, if you've ever heard of him, to Danny Morell. He's a kind of an inspirational speaker. He runs a podcast as well called The Higher Self. It's really good. He's huge on mushrooms and ayahuasca, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on, but just plant-based medicine in general. And I learned a great deal off of his podcast and through watching a lot of his content in general. And then also the Gaia Network. I don't know if you or any of your listeners have ever heard of the Gaia Network, but there's a ton of stuff on there, man, a ton of content that's related to just, spirituality in general, healing, psychedelics, mushrooms, ayahuasca, like the whole 9 yards. You find all this stuff. So that's kind of where it started, was about 6 months to a year ago. I got introduced to Danny Morell, and from Danny Morell going down into the rabbit hole of healing through psychedelics, I found Gaia, and from there it's just been like such an expansive journey for me. And that's where my show has been developed. That's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's a journey that I'm excited to be on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you talk a little bit about your show? Just let the listeners know what it's all about and
a little
insight. And
the show is called Diversity in Life, and my name's Devon, as you obviously introduced me as. And what I wanted to do with the show was basically just create a space where I could get on and I could bring people in that I know personally that go through some of the issues that are found in like the day-to-day life of a lot of people. You have so many people, masses of people that are living their lives out of fear, not being true to who they truly are, and the media and the governments around the world are the reason for this. You know what I mean? We're conditioned from birth, and that's something that I've learned, and I want to share that with everybody. That way, each person that listens to my show can just maybe possibly gain a different perspective than what they knew prior. One of the big things that I like to talk about is everybody has issues. Everybody's got those problems in their life that they want to say hinders them from doing whatever it is that they want to do, their dreams and stuff. But in all reality, the truth is that we set ourselves up to fail in essence, because we cut ourselves off from the power we hold inside. And this is all a journey that I'm on right now. I don't know all the details to all this stuff, but I truly believe that each person on this planet has, a unique kind of power within them. And I'm learning all about this every single day. And one huge thing that really excites me to talk to you about is the tie that psychedelics has into that, like psychedelics as a whole, whether this be ayahuasca or LSD or mushrooms or marijuana or whatever substance it is that alters the mind, helps us get back to that state where we understand that we're more than just this meat sack that we live in. We're a spiritual being having a physical experience on the earth. Do you understand what I'm saying? So throughout my show, that's kind of the direction that I'm diving with mine is, and plant-based medicine, mushrooms, all that's going to be talked about deeply onto my show as well, just because in modern times it's not normalized for any kind of mushrooms, ayahuasca, even marijuana is just now getting to a point where it's starting to be legal in parts of the world, but like I want that to be normalized. I want people to understand that is a natural part of our existence, is reconnecting with that spiritual side of ourselves. And you find that when you have those experiences.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that like magic mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, it's all frowned upon, and I don't know if it's because people are scared, or like you were saying, we've been conditioned to think that, or I just wish it was more open to the world, like you, man. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing on your podcast, and I look forward to listening to it and hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited. It's all new. I'm only 3 episodes in, so I've got a lot of ground to cover. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of things that I just mentioned I plan to talk about, but haven't got there yet. So if anybody out there is listening, if any of this stuff interests you, stick around, because I'm going to be touching on a lot of this stuff and revealing some like mind-blowing facts that aren't available to the public that I've found through deep research. One of them being, like you mentioned, DMT right there. DMT, for a long time, I thought that DMT was just this crazy psychedelic that you could take and it just makes you like trip balls and you freak out. My whole life I thought this. But in all reality, if anybody that's listening that doesn't know, your brain naturally produces DMT as a chemical. And when you die, you have like a sudden disbursement of DMT throughout your body at the moment of death. So like they say that basically you're tripping huge balls at the very, very end of your life, because you're leaving this physical and going back into that spiritual, that realm. I know that that's kind of far-fetched and it's hard to grasp, but it's all tied together, man. And it all goes really deep,
Yeah, I think I heard something a little bit about that. I'm not too familiar with all that, but yeah, I think I heard that, what is it the pineal gland that distributes the DMT?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure, and like I said, I'm not an expert here, but I'm pretty sure that like the pineal gland, when it's not calcified, so this is a big deal. This even ties into your diet and nutrition, but you can have your pineal gland calcified, which basically is cutting off your connection to that higher power, that spiritual energy that is outside of the third dimension that we can't see or feel, and whenever your pineal gland isn't calcified, they say that your pineal gland can like naturally produce amounts of DMT to put you into like a very, very hallucinogenic state, like your consciousness, kind of like as to where you would take a high dosage of mushrooms or take ayahuasca or something along the lines of. But I think it's all dependent on settings, like your setting, your natural setting around you, the people around you, and also how much willpower you have. Because this is one thing that I've truly discovered in all the midst of my research, is that we still don't know how powerful the human mind is. It's absolutely extraordinary. The brain is like absolutely fascinating, because it's like the most complex thing that we've ever seen. More complex than any computer out there. It can process information faster than anything that we have. And we still don't look at it in the aspect of, spiritual experiences and all that good jazz, It's frowned upon, highly frowned upon.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. But I was thinking, when you were saying how you just said that your pineal gland can calcify. I was just thinking, imagine at death if your pineal gland was so calcified that that your spirit couldn't released from that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not I was just thinking about that.
See, and this is where you get into those really, really deep, thoughtful conversations with people, and you really get to understand the way that they think and the way that they view the world. And it's just crazy, the difference, because like it's scientifically proven. I'll just use, for example, in my own household, fluoride in toothpaste. They tell you that fluoride cleans your teeth and keeps your teeth nice and white and pretty, but it's horrible for you because it calcifies your pineal gland. Any fluoride in your life, whether it be in the tap water in your sinks in your house, because that's a thing. Like if you don't drink purified water, you're probably taking in some form of fluoride because it's just in the water supply. Because the mainstream, like the government, the higher people that are in power know that if they can add small traces of these chemicals that help to calcify the pineal gland, which cuts people off from their connection with the higher power, then you have people that basically live as like human zombies that walk around and they're just subject to this system. The government controls them completely. You can really, really dive deep into this, and I don't want to go too far down a hole here. But if you're catching what I'm saying, like,
yeah, I hear you, man. I got you. So let's want to talk a little bit about the UFOs there and let us know a little bit about all that. I'm quite intrigued by all this stuff here.
Oh man, I can't. Well, what part of UFOs do you want to talk about? There really is so much. I dove down this. So for anybody that doesn't believe in UFOs or like doesn't believe in aliens, I'm just going to give you two names really quick that'll give you absolute concrete proof. Philip Schneider is one of them. And I'll reference a movie here in just a few minutes. That's a very great watch if you really want to be exposed to the way that things are in the deep state and the government, which is crazy. There's Philip Schneider. That was his name. And then there's another guy by the name of Billy Meyer. And Billy Meyer is a German physicist. And this guy has had the absolute craziest life of pretty much anybody that I've ever really dived down into. He goes in this film, and there's a movie about him too, and I'll mention that as well. But he goes in to say that extraterrestrial life or, aliens or species that are not human that have been here for, hundreds, thousands of years. There's a lot of talks about alien civilizations living deep within the earth in massive caves underneath of the ground. And I cover a little bit of this in my podcast. Actually, the last episode I had a buddy on that's really well versed in UFOs and the history of UFOs and stuff. And he came on and we had a really, really great conversation, like an hour and a half long, talking about all of this stuff. I learned a great deal from him. And it's just, it kind of gives you the information that like you can't refute it. So Philip Schneider he worked in a underground military base in Dulce, New Mexico. And this secret underground military base, they called them DUMBs for short, DUMBS, which is like deep underground military bases. And he worked in these, and he says this on live in a movie. The movie is called The Underground, Director's Cut, The True Story of Philip Schneider. So for anybody listening, that's the name of the movie that they explain all of this on. And basically they say that they're drilling a deep underground military base 2.5 miles down into the ground, and they bust in through the roof of an alien base. I don't really recall the details or the exact words that they use in the movie, so I'm trying to be as well correct as I can here. But they said that they drilled through this, and as they were going down, being craned down, they seen a bunch of ant-like alien figures all over the ground. And they got closer and they started attacking the people, that were drilling down to create this military base. And this is all like absolutely crazy. I know that this sounds so far-fetched, but when you watch these clips, these are clips from like the 1990s, live interviews of this guy coming out saying, I'm not working for the CIA anymore, or the FBI, whichever it was. And this shit, like, because it almost costed him his life. He was in a military firefight with aliens, and it almost cost him his life. He comes out of that, and he's like trying to, whistleblow. He's a whistleblower. He came out and he tried to let everybody know, like, hey, the government is doing some shady fucking shit. There's aliens. They're real. Like, this is crazy, and he was found dead. They deemed it a suicide, but he had a catheter, an oxygen catheter about half-inch thick in diameter, wrapped around his neck and tied in the front. I did a lot of research on his death, and it's really intriguing. It's a crazy story, and if you look into it, I'm telling you, it'll leave you with more questions than answers. So that's a really good one, and I'll let you ask some questions if you have. I know that was a lot to take in just a few short minutes.
Yeah, no, like did they? So you were saying they're like ants? They were ants. Like
this is Well, so they were explaining it in a way that they were drilling down and they hit this hole and it opened up like a big cavern, and they couldn't send electronics down there because like electronics were getting shut off. Like you couldn't send electronics down there to see what was in this fucking cave or whatever. And they were like, we got to send people down here. We have to send some human subjects in here to see what's going on, right? So they like winch them down in a cage, I'm assuming. Like I said, I don't remember all the details exactly, but there's a movie on this, and you can watch this guy explain this story, like his own recollection of the story, this exact guy. And he was saying that when they as they were coming down, they looked like little ants all over the cave floor or whatever. And then he's like, as they got lower, it was just like it was some form of alien life. He probably describes it a little bit better, but I remember him saying that as they were getting lower down, it looked like just little alien ant life forms, kind of. And he said as they got lower, they started to be like a firefight. There started to be like interaction between the people and the aliens and he said that I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. So I'm glad you've kept up to this point. So he says that when he went down, all he could carry was a kind of like a Walter PPK, those really, really small pistols, very, very small, only holds like 7 rounds in a mag, very, very small handgun. He was carrying that on his hip. He was able to pull his gun out and shoot and kill one of them, he says. He says he was able to shoot and kill one. And then he said that the creature, alien, extraterrestrial, whatever it was, waved its like hand in front of its chest where it had been shot, and a beam of energy shot out and hit him and split him from the waist pretty much up to the chest, split him wide open like a fish. And there was a Green Beret that was going down with him in the essence fall. So it's not just him that went down to see all this. There was multiple people that came down and witnessed this. There's got maybe a team of people going down to investigate, right? And he said that the Green Beret like pushed him out of the way, reached over, pushed the evac button on the crane or whatever they were in. They get raised back up. Philip Schneider's life gets saved because of this Green Beret. He comes back up. They save him, whatever, from the big incision cut he has from this energy beam. They go on to say there's video footage in this movie that shows him showing the scar from this incident. And then he's talking about this at some sort of conference, and this is all live footage from like maybe the 80s or 90s. This is old stuff. It's, it's not something that really has been tampered with that I would think, to my knowledge. Like, I'm pretty well versed in, like technology nowadays, and you can kind of tell when a video has been tampered with, but those older films, it's kind of hard, I think, and the footage, when you see it like that, it's just hard to call it a lie. You get that, you get that reassurance on film. You see it with your own eyes, and you're like, holy shit, man. But needless to say, after the conferences, this guy came out. He started blowing whistles at the government, saying that the government was doing stuff with aliens and that people need to be aware of it and they need to understand it. And he was found dead in his home after 5 days of like no one hearing from him. His landlord found him dead in his home after 5 days with a catheter wrapped around his head so tight that you couldn't even see it at first. It was so embedded into this guy's like fat rolls. No offense. I'm just saying what I seen on the video, like so embedded into the fat of his neck. It was tied in the front, and they deemed it a suicide. This guy's death is still deemed a suicide to this day. And it's just a really, really crazy and intriguing story. It's absolutely crazy. And when you see things like this is what I like to tell people. How can you explain that? For one, how do you make that up? How do you have that scar? And how do you die like this so unexpectedly? None of it adds together. The autopsy report was never released to the wife of Philip Schneider. His wife never got the autopsy report back from his death. Like, it's just a very, very fishy, very, very fishy case. And I talk a lot about this. Like, I'll mention a couple other cases to you here in a few minutes, but this one in particular, like, took my brain by storm. I watched this movie and I did some research on Philip Schneider, and if you get on Google and you look up Philip Schneider, you're not going to find anything. This is the scary part. Like, if you get on Google and you look up Philip Schneider, you're not going to find much. You really have to dive deep to be able to find this shit. And it's, I don't know, man. It's just, it's interesting,
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what you're saying here, and I couldn't even fathom seeing that. Like, if I was the guy going down in that hill or in that hole, and I mean, it's crazy,
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's
like, what yeah. I wonder what he was thinking.
Here's another here's a fact out of I have my notes pulled up here. So the blood and urine tests were placed on hold for 3 months after the biopsy of Philip Schneider. And when his wife called after that 3-month time frame, they told him that it was lost and that they didn't have access to it. And that was it. Done.
So in your opinion, they're just trying to cover it up then, because he was trying to whistleblow. He was trying to let the public know exactly what's going on. And
absolutely.
The government didn't want that, which, the government doesn't want a lot of stuff. And I guess they figured that would,
they don't. Right. And this is man. This is all like deep state stuff. And so here's a couple facts about Phil Schneider that I have written down. So he was in the program, the Pentagon Black Budget Program, for 17 years. He was a certified government geologist, a structural engineer with aerospace applications, and a self-taught metallurgist, which means that he's very well versed in the metals of the earth. So yeah, man, just like crazy. Just is the crazy story that you can't really, it's hard to deny it after you watch that movie. Like that's one that kind of will shake you up if you're not ready for it. And also a note, whenever he describes in his interviews after all this happened and he's blowing the whistle, he says that the quote unquote grays is what he calls them, but aliens have been camping 2.5 miles below the Earth's surface for 400 to 500 years. And like this is all stuff, like I said, that's subject to being the truth. I'm not 100% sure, but I also know that people don't put truth out like this and then die suddenly.
Yeah, it kind of confirms, that he wasn't bullshitting, or he was,
Yeah, any suspicion that I had about it kind of diminished after I seen that. But to kind of veer away, I mean, we can. I mentioned Billy Meyer. I got a little note here I wrote down. So there's a documentary on Gaia, that network that I had mentioned. For anybody that doesn't have Gaia, like I said, it's such a great resource for people that are into stuff like this. You're into psychedelics. Great. You're into ETs and aliens? Great. You're into ancient civilizations and the beginnings of human life? Great. They've got everything. Meditation, yoga, documentaries, original series. It's a really, really great website platform that I wish that everyone on the earth would subscribe to, because the information that belongs here, if everybody had access to it, oh man, the world would be a much better place. Seriously, it really would. But to get back to what I was saying, the documentary on this site is called The Silent Revolution of Truth, UFOs and Prophecies from Outer Space. And this is a crazy, crazy deep documentary about Billy Meyer. He was, like I said earlier, he was a German physicist. There's a lot of video and photo proof from around like 1970 to 80, 1970, 1975, maybe to 1980. A lot of actual footage, like video footage of aliens flying over trees, video footage of UFOs parked, landed, and he has a very in-depth stories of communications with extraterrestrials and information that comes from extraterrestrials. And he did a lot of amazing shit in his life. Just super crazy. It's another just really crazy story.
I was going to ask, do you think that there will ever be a time that they might come and like show themselves to the mass public? Do you feel
I think it's coming? I honestly think it's coming very soon. We can dive in really quick to. So there's a guy, is it a former FBI agent in the United States? His name's John D'Souza. He is an author now, and he speaks, also a whistleblower, speaks about his experiences with aliens and extraterrestrials and everything. And he wrote a book, and he describes, this book was written 11 years ago. And if you give me just a second here, I can pull up the name of this book so that way I can give it to you.
Yeah, no worries.
But he wrote this book 11 years ago, and it talks about some of the events that we're going to be seeing. I don't know if you guys, you say you're in Canada, right? I don't know if you guys seen anything of the Chinese UFO balloon things that were going around, flying around in the United States. I don't know if that's news that you guys caught, but there was some stuff going on about China and UFOs and balloons and all that kind of wild shit just a couple of weeks ago. And he predicted it in a book that came out almost 10 years ago. It's called The Extra Dimensional. True Tales and Concepts of Alien Visitors. This book came out in 2016, so not quite 10 years, but almost. And he describes a lot of circumstances that we're dealing with in current life today in 2023. 10 years ago, and it really puts it into perspective for you. Like, damn, there are people that know what's coming. And he goes to talk about how 2023 is just the beginning. He goes to talk about how there will be a war, and that the government, and I don't know about other people's governments, but the United States government is going to be using UFOs as the war. So like they're going to claim it's an alien invasion. It's basically going to be a fake war. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So the United States government, there's proof of the United States government working with aliens. Like I have a note written down here of the name of an alien that actually was worked with.
Yeah, there was we did see about that balloon. Like that news was up here in Canada. I think,
yeah.
I don't know. They shot it down over, was it Alaska? Or
I think so. I want to say so. See, and I could even dive into how crazy Alaska is too. Oh my God, there's so much crazy shit that goes on in Alaska that we don't know about. But Valiant 4, and this is an alien species that has worked with the U.S. government for 58 years. This is documented not only from Philip Schneider, this is where this information comes from, not only from Philip Schneider, but also from John D'Souza too, says that Val Valiant 4, this is an alien species that's worked with the government for 58 years. And there are huge conspiracy theories that talk about how the United States government, or just maybe world governments in general, like there's a term called the cabal, which is basically like a corrupt world organization. I don't know if you've ever heard of this or not, but basically it's these organizations that have power over the entire world, and they have contact with extraterrestrials, and they say that they're like, we will give you technology advancement, like advancements in technology for the ability to abduct a certain amount of people that's able to be covered up, and kept on the hush hush and not blown up to the mainstream, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
all of this is super, super deep stuff, but this all comes from such credible sources. I'm talking about people that were in the FBI for 25 years that just come out and are trying to blow the whistle and get people to wake up and understand what's going on. Because I truly think that there are aliens among us, because a lot of the research that I've done shows me that extraterrestrial life is not physical like we are. It can be if it wants to be, but it doesn't have to be all of the time. Like it's not the way that we perceive it. So we as people have been brought up to believe that extraterrestrial life are 8-foot tall gray men that come in on flying saucers that have giant eyeballs. And that's just what we think. That's what aliens have been portrayed as throughout most people's lives. Most people don't grow up and are taught that aliens could be anything. An alien could be literally an energetic force that comes to you in deep meditation or while you're hallucinating on psilocybin, for instance. Like this, people don't understand that concept. Like I really wish that I could broaden, and that's one thing I want to do too in my show and coming on here, is broaden the perspective that says aliens is not just a physical form. You could be having a very mystical experience while on ayahuasca or mushrooms or DMT or whatever it may be, and then have an entity come to you through that medium of your consciousness being altered. And that in itself is an alien, Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I was just about to bring that up and ask that question about the entities, how you think if like they go hand in hand, kind of. So, but you already answered that. You said that that's possible, and that they're.
Right. And this ties back to us too. Like I truly think that aliens are going to be the prime example of what shows the human race how powerful we truly are. Right. So and this is my thing. I truly believe that we are physical, not physical, but spiritual beings, energetic beings that are just having a physical experience here on Earth. Right. And
so in a sense, you're saying that we could actually be the extraterrestrials or the entities. In
the essence, like we are that. We are a version of an extraterrestrial because we are more than this physical body. And this is something that I'm just now learning. Like in my first episode of my podcast, I talk about my journey from atheism into spirituality. And it's a very intriguing journey because for a long time, I did not think that God was real. And I still am iffy about using the term God, but really what it is the fact that we get separated from all the shit that goes on in the world, right? The way that the system is set up, the way the world is set up, it is set up to disconnect you from that divine power that's out there. Like that, that divine energy, that the spiritual energy. And then you're raised to believe that that's not a part of you. But if you look back, if you really do the research and you look back through ancient civilizations and ancient histories and stuff, they didn't even introduce children into the outside world until they were 6-7 years old, because all they did was focus on the connection between the heart and the brain. And in that, you find you once you connect the heart and the brain, you get that you make that connection back to that spiritual energy, and at that point, you're probably able to release DMT on demand. You're probably able to do all these supernatural things that we have no idea about in Western culture, because we're not raised that way. Do you understand?
Yeah, I got you. We got too much distraction over here. We got the TVs. We got all this.
Oh yeah, there's it's everywhere. Life is distraction nowadays. Work is distraction, and this is something that I deem an idea in my life to not have to work anymore. I just want to be able to my work to be able to sustain my life and my family, and then have something like this, like my podcast and other people's shows, where I can get on and I can talk about my experiences and my beliefs and the way that my life is and how everybody else can live the same way. And this is one thing that I like to let everybody know too, is that I'm just a normal guy. Like, I'm 26 years old, from the United States. It's a horrible country here. I hate it. My wife hates it. We wish to move somewhere else, but in the essence, we have to do something to globally make this world a better place, because it's the people that are the problem. It's not the planet. Obviously, we all know this. It's not the planet that's the problem. So if we can find a way, like in my essence, I don't have a problem with speaking. A lot of people have a problem with anxiety. They don't like to talk to people. They don't like to put their voice out there. That's one thing that I don't have an issue with in my life. So I was like, I'll just make a podcast. I'll make a podcast about everything that I learned that's going to help me live a better and more fulfilled life. And then from there, if it can help change things, then hell yeah,
Absolutely. Even if you could change
and that's
one
what
person,
I love about
people.
Even if you can change one person, just give one person the shift in perspective,
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people start podcasts like this. They just want to go out, help people, and like you were saying, they're not afraid to speak their voice, like some like people with anxiety and stuff like that. And so it's good. It's good for us to speak out and let people know our experiences, and they're pretty much not alone, because.
Yeah, hell no. And look, we can even I'll even tie my show into your show here a little bit, man, because this comes to, like, for the people out there that have anxiety, that don't like, putting their voice out there and listening and engaging in conversations with people, and wanting, like, you want that to put that voice out there, but there's that inner critic inside of you that tells you, like, it's a horrible idea, don't do that, nobody gives a shit. That's that anxiety in you. And one thing that I've learned, and I've even had personal experience with this a little bit, is if you get into the psilocybin healing and you do some like microdosing, I'm talking like less than a gram a day at a time, you're not feeling the effects of this. But in the essence, psilocybin is scientifically proven to strengthen connections within the brain. And I don't know if you know this or not, but this is a humongous study, and this is crazy, like absolutely crazy. They've done this under a microscope. They've had people under observation while they're using psilocybin, and what they find is that psilocybin promotes the growth of dendrites, which are the little bitty stems that come off of your cells. So basically, this goes back to that heart-brain connection I was talking about a little bit ago. If you microdose mushrooms, the magic mushrooms, the psilocybin that we're talking about right now, if you can get that and you can microdose that into a point where this isn't affecting your daily life. If you've got children, just like me, if you've got kids, I've got a 4 and a 6-year-old. So this is possible, guys. You can do this. You make a little bit of this with some tea in the morning or something, and it doesn't affect you throughout your day-to-day, but it affects your emotions. It allows for that little bit of extra cognitive processing and clarity throughout your day. And the more you use this, the cells in your heart and the cells in your brain are going to want to connect with each other. That's the point of this. Like psilocybin engages that behavior. So if you're taking a little bit of psilocybin each day your cells are wanting to more and more and more connect and make a big like spider web inside of your body, out of your cells. Do you understand where I'm going with this? And the connection, once the connection is made, that is living in harmony. When your heart and your brain are in connection, that's harmony. And a lot of people never experience this. They go through their entire lives, live and die, and never experience this because of the way that the system is set up. In my country, and I know that everybody around the world is different, but still, it's still that simple concept of most people just aren't aware, that they don't have the knowledge. They literally are ignorant in the sense that they just have never received the knowledge. They don't know the knowledge is there, and they're kept on a leash by people because it's quote unquote illegal.
Yeah, and touching on that being illegal, you just pretty much summed it up why I think they're keeping it illegal, because they don't want people to be that awakened. They don't want people to have that love, when you have a mass of people, it's just like you're saying, that love, that connection, when you have a mass of people that can look past the system and they're like, whoa, I am sucked in. This is not what it's about. When you take psilocybin and you take any mind altering substance, it allows you to take a step back and say, God, this is so, like, this system sucks. This is fucked, like this way we're living is wrong. This is not right at all. It's not right. And they don't want that. They don't want those people in this world. It's a massive problem. That's why, like in the 1960s, they demonized, like in the United States, in the 1960s, they demonized hallucinogenics. LSD was demonized for the simple fact of it gave people the ability to, you know what I'm saying, look past all of the shit. The smoke. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The screens, like all the bullshit that they're trying to push on us. We're getting past that by using the psychedelics, and they don't want that. That's why they're making that illegal. If that's where you were going with that.
No, yeah, it's exactly right.
So, let's see here. How often do you what's that? Yeah. Let's keep going.
No, go ahead.
No.
I just
go ahead. I'm interested in what you have to say, man. This is
yeah. No, I just I want to, before we dive into another topic, I kind of want to go back to the UFO thing real quick.
Let's go there.
For anybody that's interested in UFOs, I'll give you 3 movies really quick. It's a series, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love these. They're so good. They're by a guy named David Paulides. David Paulides is an police officer of 25 years. He stopped doing police work because of the lack of interest in missing persons cases. So keep that in mind. Are you with me here? So this guy was a cop for 25 years and quit because of the lack of the lack of care, the lack of contribution and interest in missing persons cases. And he made a movie. Him and his son directed 3 movies called The Missing 411. And what these are thousands. And when I say thousands, I literally mean thousands of cases of people that have just gone up in smoke, missing. And this is going to tie back into what I was saying about the deal between the U.S. government and the aliens about giving them advancements in technology to be able to abduct people and cover it up. So many, you know what I'm saying? So this guy, he does this research. And so the first movie, The Missing 411, this is an entire 2-hour movie about nothing but missing children. And dude, there are some stories in this that will leave you absolutely speechless. Perplexed.
Yeah. Do you have any of those stories?
Oh, yes. I'm trying to flip through my notes here and find the right one. So there was one that's okay. This one's pretty good. This one does have a conclusion, though. So I'll give you one that's got a conclusion, then I'm going to give you one that's floating in space. So the first one here was out of Colorado, and this was in a national park. I'm not sure which one, Colorado. If there's anybody that's listening in Colorado, the national park, I'm not sure exactly which one this was, but this little boy's name was Jared Arredetto. He basically went on a hike in the forest with his sister in a group of people. His dad was a conservation officer in the forest. His sister was probably 12, 13 years old. This kid was probably, I don't know, 6 years old, 7 maybe. And he goes hiking. His dad stays home, but they're very aware of this forest. They live on the site. His dad works there. They live in a cabin on the park site. So this is like not unknown territory, right? And the son, he's there with his sister. They're hiking. They're doing whatever. And his sister turns around and she's like, "Where's Jared?" And they start calling for him. Nothing. Literally nothing. They bring in helicopters, watchdogs, 250 plus searchers for 8 days straight, 24 hours, 24 hour, constant for 8 days searching for him. Found nothing. Okay, here it is right here. I got a note. Colorado State Park, Yosemite State Park in Colorado. So they found nothing. They searched for 8 days, 24 hours. They found absolutely nothing. 4 years later, a hiker finds the little boy Jared's sweatpants, his sweatshirt, his shoes, one tooth sitting on the top of a log, and the cap of his skull. Just the cap, not the entire skull, just the cap, the very top. And before I dive in here, the sweatpants were turned inside out, like they had been pulled off, like your pants get pulled off, they're inside out. And then his sweatshirt was ripped up, like it had been just shredded by like briars and bushes and all that sorts of stuff. The shoes completely undamaged.
That's weird.
Looked and smelled as though they had just come out of the box. Like not worn, not weathered, you know what I'm saying? So you got to remember, this is 4 years after this boy's disappearance. His shoes were found with like barely next to nothing on them. They're like pretty much the same as they were 4 years ago, brand new. They found the one tooth on the log and then the cap of the skull. No weather damage on any of the clothing or shoes. No blood at all. No body. And they go to talk about in the movie that his father, the boy's father, Alan, received a phone call 2 weeks into the search investigation that the police department was holding information from him and that they hoped that one day he found out the truth. Little boy never found out nothing else from him. Never heard anything. That was it. They found the skull and the tooth, the sweatpants, the shirt, and the shoes, and that was it. 4 years later, by the way. And completely unrelated spots too. Like they found all of this stuff on like the top of a mountain in Yosemite, like probably 2 miles away from where he went missing. So pretty insane story there. Pretty insane story.
And I guess they have no explanation for that, I guess. Like
there's nothing. No, there's nothing. And they explain this better, because they talk about profile points in the movie, and he explains that like there's no tracks, there's no, they had dogs come in and search for a week and never picked up a scent, never, nothing. And then 4 years later, his clothes get found. It's just a really, it's a really crazy story. And this is the kind of place, and this is the kind of story where you completely you take out pedophiles, you take out child traffickers. All of that is out of the question because these places are so secluded and so out there. This next one I'm about to tell you is going to blow your socks off.
All right, well, let's hear it.
Yeah, let me find it.
I'm speechless on that, man. That's just that's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story, man. But so this story right here I'm about to tell you comes from the Missing 411 as well. That movie about the children going missing. His name was Dior Kuntz Jr. He's a 2-year-old. He disappeared July 10th, 2015. And basically what happened with this kid was he went camping. This kid was 2 years old when he disappeared. Keep this in mind, 2 years old. He went camping with his mom, his dad, the mom's grandpa, and then one of the grandpa's buddies, right? So the mom and the dad, and these people at the time of him going missing, maybe 25 to 30 years old. Not very old, normal people, man. But the place that they went hiking is it's a 7-mile entrance, one way in, one way out to get to this campground. 7 miles on a really old, rickety gravel road. You got to drive slow. It's a one way in, one way out kind of deal, unless you're like flying a chopper or something. And they get to the campsite. They set up camp, and the little boy, he's standing around the fire with the grandpa. The mom and dad are like, I'm going to walk down here to the creek, which is like 50 yards away. They go back to the campsite in the movie and they show you just how close it is. But they're like, is Dior okay to stay here with you? Talking to the grandpa. And the grandpa's like, yeah, little man's fine to stay here, around the campfire. You guys are just going to go walk down and check out the creek. They go down, they check out the creek for 2-3 minutes. They see a school of fish, and they're like, oh, the little man would love to see this. He loves fish. Let's go back up here and get him and bring him down here. They go back up there. The little man's gone. They can't find him. They look around. They ask the grandpa. The grandpa was like, he was sitting by that tree right there playing with pine cones on the ground. I just happened to look away for a second. It's that instant where you look away from your child for an instant and they're gone. This story turns out to be absolutely insane. The mother of the child, so the boy's missing. They look for him in the surrounding area for 20 minutes. Like, I'm talking, you've got 4 adults looking in a campsite area for 30 minutes. They've looked every square inch, obviously, right? And nobody has cell signal because they're out 7 miles into the wilderness on this campsite. Well, the mom gets miraculous signal, calls 911. They're like, my son's missing. We're out here on this campsite, 7 miles off the road, blah, 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 blah. Didn't know if I would have signal. Gives them all the information, whatever. Search and rescue comes out. Same thing, man. Same thing as that last story. You've got, this story is even crazier. This story, they probably had 500 people out on this campsite searching. They had search and rescue in the air. They had helicopters with night vision radar to look for heat signatures in the forest, like at nighttime. They had divers coming in and look through the water. They had people that were constantly coming in, cutting branches down. Cause you got to think this is the wilderness, man. So this creek area, there's branches, there's logs, everything everywhere. For 2 weeks straight, they cut through 1.5 miles on both sides of where the campsite was, up the creek, cutting logs, moving logs. They checked every square inch, never found the kid. The kid has still been missing to this day, never been found, never heard anything. Nobody knows what the fuck happened to this poor kid, bro. Gone. Nothing. No explanation, no tracks, no blood, no clothes, no scent, nothing, dude. Nothing left behind. The last time they seen their son was when they woke up in the morning, and then they left their son to go check out the creek, and that was the last time he was ever seen, ever.
That's
absolutely
Go ahead.
Absolutely, 2 years old. Like, you couldn't have gone far. The body, like, dude, I'm telling you, this is the most insane story. This shook me to my core. Watching this family, watching the surrounding people. It's a really, really crazy story, dude. Super crazy. And that's all in the first movie. Now, this is all in a 2-hour-long documentary. Like, and then he has a whole entire documentary called Missing 411, The Hunted. This is about people that are in Alaska that have been abducted while they're hunting elk. Multiple people, multiple disappearances of elk hunters in like Alaska and stuff, like crazy ass stories. This guy was explaining about how he, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But this guy, I'm just going to say this guy was hunting an elk, and he seen a glass box behind him. And then he said that this guy walked up to him, asked him if he was hungry. He said, yes. He said 4 pills floated to him. He took one. He woke up inside of this craft. He looked behind him, and there were 5 elk standing, frozen in time, just standing solid, motionless behind him. And this alien ET talked to him and was telling him that they needed a lifelong contactee, and that they come down to Earth often to get elk and deer and fish out of the ocean. And but they said that he couldn't be a contactee because he wasn't, or he said that he wasn't what they were looking for. And he thinks this old man, like they did an interview with this old man. This is the craziest shit ever. He thinks that it's because he had a vasectomy done when he was like younger. This is an old guy. When he was younger, he had a vasectomy done. And the craziest part about the story is when the old man was hunting, it was the only time that he had been hunting by himself in the last 20 years. He said that his wife always goes hunting with him. And the one time that she didn't go with him, he got abducted by aliens. And then he said whenever they told him that he wasn't what they needed, they just kind of like threw him out, and he hit the side of a hill and like rolled down a hill, and he was unconscious. And when his wife got home that day, she was like, I don't know what it was, but something told me I have to go to him, to her husband. She's like, I have to go help him. She goes out into the woods and finds him laying on the side of a hill with no gun, no clothes on, nothing. Just sitting there naked saying, they took my elk. They took my elk. Like, dude, this is one of the craziest stories. Like, I can't make this stuff up. Like, if I was making this up, somebody needs to come cuff me and take me to jail right now. You know what I mean? This stuff is so serious, and it is so crazy. Like, tell me that doesn't just shake you to the core. That's the craziest story I've ever heard. But how do you make that up? How is there an old man and an old woman in some tiny little podunk town that just happen to have that story? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Nah, not at all, man. I'm just wondering about the vasectomy thing. Like, I wonder what that would have to do with.
And that was never a set in stone thing. This was just whenever David Paulides, the guy that done these movies, whenever he interviewed the old man to get the story and the content about what happened to this old guy, he told him, he was like, I don't know why they told me that I wasn't what they needed, but he was like, the only thing that I could think is that I had a vasectomy. Because he's not like a pure, you know what I mean? Like maybe they didn't want it because his reproductive system wasn't completely intact. I don't know, but yeah, that absolutely, like, dude, that one kind of blew my lid off a little bit. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's a crazy story, man. Like, that's a deep dive. Like you're saying, there's a lot of information out there.
There's, man, see, and I know that it's really hard. I know, like, when you hear these things, you're like, dude, this is the most far-fetched shit I've ever heard in my life. And I because whenever I was looking through this stuff, I thought the same thing. I was watching these movies, and I'm like, how in the hell have they made a movie out of this? And then I think to myself, like, if they're making a documentary out of it, there's got to be some truth to it. They're not just going to sit here and feed people horse shit. Like, especially when you've got whistleblowers that have died and you've got old footage of them talking about stuff, like, that's just, you can't take that away, though, you know?
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense, you know. But so you have any more stories, or you want to? I was gonna ask you a little bit about ayahuasca, if you
Yeah, we
wanted
can
to.
we can definitely
But,
yeah we can
but
definitely talk about ayahuasca real quick. There's a couple of things that I actually did want to mention. So for the people that don't know what ayahuasca is, it's plant-based medicine, pretty similar to psilocybin in an essence, but it comes from different plants. And I'm pretty sure I want to say that the concoction of ayahuasca may depend on where at in the world you're going to. If you understand what I'm saying, like depending on what country, what place you're going to, the medicine could be different in different, forms and varieties.
yeah, well, I figured maybe because it's made from bark, right? Ayahuasca is made from bark. I believe it's made from a bark from a tree. I could be wrong. I'm not.
Yeah, well, there's two.
But
Yeah,
I was gonna
so
ask your opinion on what you think if like I wanted to try ayahuasca, or for somebody who wanted to try it. Do you think the benefits would be the same as doing it at home as to doing it at, like, say, one of those retreats where it's actually what would you say it?
it's
Oh man.
encouraged and not frowned upon. Let's put it that way.
Or even like it's their, like they have the therapy there for it. Do you think you can get the same benefits for yourself at home?
Okay, so
Do you think?
I'm just gonna dive in just a little bit to give people kind of a quick idea. So ayahuasca, in a sense, is a very, very powerful natural substance that's grown, like you said, from the barks of some sort of tree. It says right here, Psychotria viridis shrub, and the stalks of the Banisteropsis copy vine. So there's a couple different things, and I don't know how to pronounce all this right, but there's a couple different ingredients that go into this drink. And when and so I've never done it. I'm just going to put that out there. But in my experience in research and the stories that I've listened to and read of people doing ayahuasca, basically it's a little bit more than what mushrooms are. So mushrooms gives you that ability to tap in and to be aware and to see things the way that they truly are, right? And then but it truly, if you take enough mushrooms, like you're never going to overdose on mushrooms, right? You're just going to have a very, very deep experience the more that you take. Well, in my perception of this is that ayahuasca is more of like a sacred thing, right? Ayahuasca is more like, so mushrooms would be that kind of that plant-based medicine that you could do controlled at home. And you don't get me wrong, you can do ayahuasca at home because there's proof that, like, and I'm going to get into a story in just a moment, but like, I think that for people that want to try ayahuasca, maybe, this is an experience that you need to go to a place where you're dealing with a shaman, and you can, because basically the process is you go to these people and you let them know all of the bad things in your life, all of your demons, all of your setbacks, the things that hold you back in your life, the negativity that drowns you, right? And then the people there, they take you through this ceremony. That's why people say they go on ayahuasca retreats. It's like literally for a week, they're prepping you for this experience. And a lot of people think that ayahuasca is this crazy experience. It's not. A lot of research I've done is there's a lot of vomiting and there's like a lot of diarrhea, but it's because your body is expunging all of the toxicity and all of the negativity out of it, and through the mouth and through like diarrhea, that is how it comes out of you. Literally, like you take the medicine and all the negativity that is poured up in your body and in your cells comes out through physical matter. And this is all super deep stuff, dude. But this is why you're in a controlled environment. Because when you're there, like these people are there and they know what you've been through. They know which direction to take, how to talk you through it, to keep you on the right direction. Because it's like you talk about, there are multiple different kinds of entities out there. And once you open up your brain, which is what ayahuasca does, it opens up your pineal gland and allows you to reach out. And like once you do that, there's a very high possibility that you're going to be dealing and experiencing with a negative entity if you're aligned with that energy. So the best thing that I can say to anybody out there, if you're an expert in ayahuasca or you want to become an expert in ayahuasca, go do a couple of retreats, learn about the medicine, learn how the medicine affects you in general, and then maybe look at home use of it. Because, okay, like I was mentioning, Danny Morell, that guy that runs that podcast, The Higher Self, he has a lot of talks about ayahuasca, and in his experience, he's like, he's done it. I'm just going to say a plethora of 10 plus times, right? And he says that in his experience, you don't even have to drink it. Like you can just have the medicine in your house and the medicine will start to bring out that shit in you, like that negativity. Like it'll start to do its magic and cleanse you and work on you just being in your house. So you have to understand that this is very powerful stuff, but this is also, like, in an essence, this is very sacred stuff. This is why shamans are the teachers of this. And for people that don't even know what a shaman is, I'm sure all your listeners are going to know what shamans are because, you know, you're talking about magic mushrooms and psychedelics and all that good stuff. But for anybody else out there that doesn't know, like, a shaman is just basically like somebody that is well versed in the art of the medicine. They know, they've done it, they're experienced, and they know, and they can send you on the right path. Because I'm sure that, and like I said, I've not done it, but in the research that I've done, it seems that it can be very easy to veer off the path that you intend to be upon, just because of the negative beliefs and implications that are subconsciously set in our minds. So with that being said, like you may think that you're being positive, that you're wanting to meet up with a good entity and have a good time on ayahuasca, but deep down you have really, really bad things, negativity, like hurt and pain and fear in your heart and your soul. Like whenever you take ayahuasca, that is what's going to come up, because basically what it's doing is it's bringing up the hydra and cutting the head off the hydra. And then after you come back from the experience, you're changed. Every single person that I've looked into that has done ayahuasca, for one, they refer to the medicine as a her. It's like a she, like Aya. They say AYA, like Aya, like she took me on this journey. You know, so like, dude, this, like I'm saying, this is really deep stuff. It's really like I don't want to particularly use the word sacred, because I don't want it to imply like you can't do it unless you're like some specific being, because everybody should do it. Everybody should have access to it, because I feel like it opens up that part inside of us that yearns for the beyond, you know?
Absolutely.
Mushrooms do it a little bit, but like I said, mushrooms is a very, 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 like, it's not, you're not getting the strength of ayahuasca. And to touch in, like there is psilohuasca, which is like mushrooms kind of mixed in with ayahuasca. And basically what this is in my research, this is more potent mushrooms. So they take parts of ayahuasca, they take ingredients out of ayahuasca, and they mix that with mushrooms that have been crushed up and ground up, and you can make tea out of this. You can just take it straight like a powder, but it can increase the effects of mushrooms up to 4 times the original effects and last up to 9 hours, which in essence, it would be nice, but it all depends on the purpose of your use. If you're using these, you know, say you're using these medicines for actual treatment and healing purposes, like, not a bad idea. But in an essence of using them for fun or using them to, you know, just explore, I don't know what's the best option, because I've not been there yet, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't want to interrupt you. We were having some technical difficulties there. I hope that all recorded properly.
Oh yeah.
It was like staticky and cutting. I don't know what's going on here, but if not, I'll try to do some editing. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you while you were going. I wanted to get the whole thing through, so.
Oh no, you're good.
So I could hear the information.
Can you still hear me okay?
So. Yeah, it's just there's just static. I don't know if it's. I think it might be the pod being. I don't. It just started talking. It just started happening when you were talking about ayahuasca. There, maybe Podbean doesn't want that information going out. You know.
You never know, dude. You never know. Could be trying to. Could be trying to. Put static over the good information, man.
They can't silence us though. That's all right. We got this.
Yeah.
So sorry for the interruption there, man. You can continue on.
No,
you had a few things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, but like I was saying, the home use of ayahuasca, I think that it is something that can happen. I just don't know if it's something that is like ideal to happen at first, for somebody that hasn't ever done it. And I understand it. Like, I get the whole I don't have the money to travel to a different country to go do this. I get that. And I think that this is where it comes into beginning to use psilocybin and just hallucinogens to get a feel for that sense entirely, because it's all connected. Like, you've got psilocybin, you've got DMT, you've got ayahuasca. Like, there's all these powerful tools that we have as humans to be able to enter the metaphysical realm, the quantum realm, the realm that's beyond our physical body, that we can see and feel and touch and hear. Like, all of these things, mushrooms, all that stuff, all of it is just tools to get us there. It's tools to help us on that journey. So if you can't afford a trip to go do ayahuasca, then start with mushrooms. Start microdosing mushrooms. Have a set intention on what you want to do to change your life, and then see where that takes you from there.
That's great information, man, for the listeners. So, yeah, you have any other topics you'd like to discuss, go through, let the people hear?
Let me see. Yeah, actually.
I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
No, you're good. We kind of we had an idea.
Yeah, these topics are a little out of the reach for me. I'm here learning from you, man. So.
Oh yeah, you're good.
This is all you.
Yeah, you're good. I could just go on for so long about the alien, the alien and the entity thing. It's just, and to go even deeper with that, there's actually there's a series on Gaia that I'm completely engulfed in right now called Missing Links, with a guy named Greg Braden, and he's a geologist and a scientist and a spiritual teacher.
Give me a second here for a second. You want to maybe we should, because it's still all static and stuff. Maybe we should not back up, but take you off the speakers block and then bring you back on. Maybe that'll help, because it's all like staticky and cut notes still. You want to give that a try, see how it goes?
Yeah, we can. Whatever you want to do, dude.
Yeah, let's, because I can't really hear anything. It's all stat. Let's try and back you out, and then we'll bring you back on. So I'll bring you back on as the speaker and see if that helps it out. I don't think I can hang you up. Yeah, there we go. Oh, where'd he go? Ah, there you are. I thought you were leaving for a second there. Let's bring it back on here. Oh, oops.
Is that a little better?
Ah, that's much better, man. That's much better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the static.
Something to do with Podbean, with recording live for X amount of time.
Yeah, that's a lot better, man. Hopefully that ayahuasca section didn't get all fucked up. Man.
Yeah, I hope not.
There was some good information going on there.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Yeah, I hope so. I hope everybody got it, dude. I hope so. But to dive in just a little bit, there's a lot of stuff on that Missing Links. It's a series on Gaia, and there's a lot of crazy information on there talking about the origins of human life, and this kind of ties back into psychedelics a little bit too. But talking about entities a little bit, so most of the Western world, myself included, probably you too, we have been taught that civilization started 5,000 years ago, like around the Mayan Empire and all the ancient civilizations that we know of today. Those all date back roughly 5,000 years. Well, there's new scientific proof of a Cro-Magnon, which is a species of human, same DNA that existed on Earth 200,000 years ago. And basically what this tells us was that the chromosome number 2 that is found in human beings, and I'm going to kind of jump around here a little bit because I didn't take a super bunch of notes when I was watching this episode, but basically what he was saying is this ties into the theory of evolution a little bit with Charles Darwin, and that to an essence we evolved from apes because the human chromosome number 2 gene is what separates us from primates. Like the human chromosome number 2 is what makes us human. It's what gives us the, movement in our hands and our feet and all that good jazz. So basically what they say, or what this guy was saying, he said peer-reviewed science tells us now that the chromosome number 2 was not fused together by natural processes. So what makes us human, the human chromosome number 2, was directed mutation of the human DNA, intelligent design. So basically what this is saying is there's scientific proof now that shows that the human DNA or primate DNA was directly modified 200,000 years ago by an entity of some sort, something. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it was, but there was something that modified the DNA of a primate to split the human chromosome number 2 and merge it together to create human life. We know that. That's scientifically proven now. And this is crazy because this is not this shit right here is not taught in schools. This is not things that are common knowledge. I'm 26 years old and I just learned about this last week.
Yeah, it's like Terrence McKenna. He has a lecture there, and they call it the stoned ape theory.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, about how primates ate mushrooms and then over time that developed their awareness. And yeah, see the amount of theories that's a great one. That was that they actually they did a huge talk over that on the Joe Rogan Experience. That was a great I've dived deep into that before. That's really good. But it's just, I don't know. It's really crazy. It's really crazy because now we have scientific proof that there are entities out there. There are things that are beyond our understanding that influence human life, which is very interesting.
Well, there has to be something, man. We can't be the only thing, There has to be something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. And this is and this is where you could even dive down into the religion aspect of it. Probably throughout the ages, you've got different religions, and I would safely guarantee that people, are eating mushrooms then, those people were eating mushrooms. Those religions, those people back then, they were eating mushrooms. They were getting out of their conscious mind and getting into mind-altered states and having conversations with entities and then coming back and writing all that shit down. And that's what we know as the Quran, and that's what we know as the Bible. And all of this stuff that's been passed down through the generations is only information that's been channeled through human beings, through spiritual entities or energetical entities or whatever you want, whatever name you want to use for it. You want to call it aliens, you want to call it entities, you want to call it spiritual entity, whatever. All of it is the exact same thing. It all boils back down to the same thing that we are. We are an energetic being. Have you ever like went to call somebody and then the other person is automatically on the other line about to pick up and call you at the same time? Has that ever happened to you before?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, all the time.
So I'm just going to dive in and explain this to you. That right there is a supernatural form of communication. And people think it's just coincidence. Let me tell you something. There's nothing on this earth that is a coincidence. Nothing. We are so powerful that we can literally subconsciously know when a person, you could be on the other side of the planet, and you know, because everything is connected, and there's an energy that allows a knowing. Like, because it's intuition, and it runs really deep, man. It's just, we could go on and on and on. We could go on and on. I tell you what, bud.
Well, we had somebody who wanted to call in, Palab meditation, oh, okay, they left. They were trying to call into the show, and I guess they left. So maybe they had some questions. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe they wanted to speak. I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh. All right. You have any other topics you want to discuss? Oh, have you ever heard of Basilowaska? Is that, am I saying that right?
The Silowaska? Yeah. So I touched on this.
I've never heard of it.
I hadn't heard of it
I got
either.
it from a question on the guys on the Discord there. They figured they wanted to ask the question. I've never heard of it.
I hadn't either until you mentioned something, but I watched a small clip on Gaia. They actually have a segment that's about 15 minutes long that talks about ayahuasca. And there's a guy, I don't remember his name exactly, but he was on there talking about how basically they take some of the ingredients of the ayahuasca and they take mushrooms and they grind them down to a powder and they mix those together, and you can mix that in and make tea with it, or you can just take the powder as it is and wash it down with a little bit of water. It's really tough, but it's a very, very potent, powerful mixture. And basically it showed this woman that was doing this. She did a 15-minute video. She did the experience, and then she came out of the experience and talked about it. And she said that it's a very powerful, long, it's like 4 times as powerful as what a normal mushroom experience would be. And she says it lasts about 9 to 10 hours. And she was like, also, she mentioned being with a female entity, a feminine entity, and just coming up out of her body and going into this light straight up. And she explained it as just a feeling of love and light all over her body. And you get this talk about love and light so much in the ayahuasca community, and really a lot in the mushroom community too, because it allows you to see that is basically what rules this world, is love. If you can have love and compassion for every single person and thing in this world, you're going to live a happy and peaceful existence. And that's all there is to it. It doesn't matter how much bad shit is going on in your life. This is another reason that I wanted to do my show, was because, like I said, I'm just a normal guy. I've been through the ringer. I dealt with drug use in my house growing up. I dealt with, not having a father growing up in my family. Like I dealt with a lot of issues that set me back in my adult life. And I had to basically reconstruct the way that I think and the way that I act and the way that I feel as a grown man. And all of that is like, it's very deep and very moving, and it's something to share because it lets people know, like, I don't know.
Well, I remember hearing somewhere that to make it off Earth, like in your next life, and if you believe in your next lives and stuff, like energy never dies. It's always
transforms.
That's like you're talking about your soul, your soul and stuff like that. And I can't remember where I read it, but to make it off Earth, you have to live your life with full love and
I firmly believe that, man. This even ties back into religion and like the reincarnation of Christ and all that stuff. like you basically the idea of it is that you will reincarnate on the earth until you learn to live a life out of love and light, and you understand and you become so basically the this is going to sound so far-fetched, but in my eyes the journey of life is you're born, and when you're born you're connected to the source of life. You're connected to, let's just use God as the word. You're connected to God fully at birth. You are one with God because you are a new life here. There's no external factors that influence you at birth. As you get older and as you are raised and as you become aware and as you get molded and shaped by the things around you, that becomes your reality and that becomes your life. So you become what you are, you become what you're around in an essence. So the journey of life is, in my eyes, in this day and age, coming back to that oneness with God. So you're born with it, right? You come into this world and you're one with whatever it is that created you. And the idea is that you go through your life and you go through extremities, you go through challenges, you go through all these things that make you who you are, and that you use all those experiences and those emotions and feelings to bring yourself back to what it is to be one with whatever is out there. And once you understand that, because that, like I said earlier, there are people that grow and live their entire lives and die and have no perception of life beyond what we have here on the earth. And it really it brings me a very, very deep sense of happiness to know that I'm on this journey now and I get it. And I'm only 26 years old, and all I'm doing now is I just want to spread it with the world. So just imagine if I live to be 80 years old, I've got 55 years of just promoting nothing but living your best life and doing the best thing you can, being the best person you can, and trying to bring psychedelics back into the picture and letting people know hey, this is a tool for you to connect to the best part of yourself.
Absolutely, man. That's a great statement. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna ask you again, man, because I'm on the topic here. You got something?
Oh man, I literally, it's like I'm telling you, bro, I could go on for days. If you want to have just a little bit more of a conversation about aliens real quick, I can take you quite somewhere. Cool. So to go back to the deep underground military bases that we talked about earlier, they have said that alien takeover is a legitimate threat, within the world today. Alien takeover is a legitimate threat, and this comes from those FBI agents. Those people that have been in, Phil Schneider, John D'Souza. You've got that German physicist. They are the ones that are saying this kind of stuff. Alien takeover is a legitimate threat, and this is a thing. We had a question we planned to talk about of when do I plan to see aliens. By the masses, when do we plan to see aliens by the masses come in? And it's man, it's a waiting game now. It's a waiting game. Once you dive in and you see all this information, you learn all this stuff, you can't unlearn it. You can't take the information away. So now it's just, in my eyes, we're waiting. We're waiting on the next global catastrophe. For me in the United States, it's all these oil spills that we're seeing. It's the gun reform. It's the social media laws that they're trying to pass to get rid of TikTok because they don't want people to see what's going on in the world. It's just such a bunch of different stuff. But when you look at it, all it boils down to is they're trying to keep people living in fear. If you can keep people living in fear, then you can control them.
But once that fear is gone, we're free.
Yeah, but once that fear is gone, you have free, independent thinking people. Like if people, okay, put it this way: if the masses of people understood that alien life is not a threat, but they want to help humanity grow into like a space-faring like civilization, the world would be a different place than it is. But the government has done such a good job of keeping it under wraps that everybody is horrified of aliens. For the last 50 years, they've done nothing but portray aliens as a bad thing, as a threat. And when they come, we're going to get them. I'm going to tell you right now, when the aliens do, like if an alien species ever does attack the Earth, we are in for a world of hurt because aliens are not physical. Aliens can come and go through this reality as they see fit because they are well far fucking beyond what we are. Like it's scientific proof that aliens and alien craft can appear and disappear out of thin fucking air. Material like I'm talking like a material ship appearing out of thin air and disappearing out of thin air due to quantum physics that most people, I would say 95% of the masses of the population of the earth do not know. They think that quantum physics is a theory because of the way that the government and the media has portrayed, like, okay, let's use Ant-Man for an example, the movie, the Avenger Ant-Man. People think that the quantum realm is fake because it's in a Marvel superhero movie. You know what?
Yeah, well, there has to be some truth. You know, they're trying to show us the truth, but not show it directly into our face. They're giving us bits and pieces of the reality, I guess you could say.
They're giving us bits and pieces, but they attach those bits and pieces to things that we know aren't real. That's the problem.
So it's kind of like a little manipulation.
It's manipulation because at that point they're like, the quantum realm can't be real because Ant-Man is so tiny. He flies into the quantum realm. Like, what?
Well, going back to that, to the statement you said where they can fly, the UFOs can fly in and out of the physical realm. That's because, in my opinion, they've learned to manipulate the energies and the frequencies, and they're a much higher being where they can, like I said, manipulate the frequencies of the earth and you know, yeah, they're far superior.
That's 100% a fact. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's just a technologically superior race to what the human race is, and like, I'll take you down something really quick. If you get on YouTube, actually, here, can I send you a link through Discord and you pull up a video and we can talk about it while you watch?
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
So I'm just going to explain what I'm going to be showing you. There is a tether in space of wires that broke off of the International Space Station. A tether of wires that is 15 to 18 miles long. And there is, it shows footage of like crafts, like alien crafts floating around it. They kind of look like fish, but whenever you see it on video, it's only visible through infrared or like thermal imaging, you know, like you can't see it with the naked eye. And basically, whenever I did a podcast episode and I talked about this a little bit, and basically what it is the craft that you see in this video, those could be anywhere. Those could be flying around in our skies in broad daylight right now as we know it, and we would not be able to see it with the naked eye because you can only see it with an infrared camera.
That's I wonder why. I guess it's because of the energy. Like, yeah, man. That's interesting. I'll check that out for sure. Just waiting on that link.
Yeah, I'm I'm sending it to you right now. I just wanted to make sure.
Hey,
I
thanks
just
for the
wanted to
like.
make sure that was it right there. So
All right,
when you pull that up, go to about 55 seconds. So when you see this, keep in mind that this is a stretch of cables that is 15 to 18 miles long, and it's got you can see it in the video. It's got a big gold like satellite at the end of it. And look at how straight these cables are in space. These are loose cables in space, and they're held completely straight, like they're being magnetically held up. It is the wildest thing.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So that's metal? Those are metal cables?
That's wire from the space station, like steel cables in space, about 15 miles long. You see how straight that is?
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? Now you see all those little things like moving around it?
Yeah.
Those are like craft, like alien craft of some sort that are only visible through infrared camera.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, super crazy. I'm gonna send you one more video real quick, and then I'll stop.
No worries, man. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk.
So, do you have any knowledge over the Dome of the Rock? Do you know what that is?
No. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with all this stuff here. So
okay, so
I'm here to learn as well as everybody else.
Right, the Dome of the Rock is like one of the holiest places on earth. It's in Jerusalem. It's called Temple Mount too. It's that kind of it's a building with a big rounded golden top. Have you ever seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, well, I'm gonna. There's some footage of a UFO flying over top of the Dome of the Rock, and it's pretty intense.
So what made you get into all this? I think you explained at the beginning, like a little bit about it, but like what all of a sudden just clicked and said, "Fuck, I'm interested in UFOs and aliens and extraterrestrials."
Yeah, so I have a good friend that introduced me to that Gaia network, and there was some stuff that he showed me on the Gaia network before I had ever subscribed to it, you know, before I knew anything. And he showed me some videos, just some crazy footage, some stuff in space, solar flares on the sun being harnessed from alien ships, and there's video footage of it. Just some really crazy stuff. And he showed me that, and I went home and I paid $12 to the Gaia network, man. And I'm gonna tell you, I started watching. And when you give yourself the space just to hear it, you know, most people are like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not even listening to that. That's devil talk. That's blah, blah, blah. That's this, that's that. Dude, no, just have an open mind and listen. And when you open your mind and listen, it starts to make sense. And when it starts to make sense, it's scary because then you dive deeper, and the deeper you go, you realize how expansive it is because it does not stop. Once you start at aliens, you get into cosmic entities and cosmic, like, oh man, it's just so deep. Like I've gotten into where like I'll just give you a taste of this idea that I found out just the other day. This is kind of what I'm obsessed with right now is space in itself will unfold just because of the act of perception and looking. So no matter how far into space we as humans look, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how far away from the earth we can see, we're going to find something because we're looking for it. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Yeah, man. The act of looking automatically creates something to be found. Do you know what I mean? So no matter what we find, something will always be there to be found because the act of looking creates which is super powerful. Like that sentence right there, the act of looking creates, like that is so powerful when you think about it, because on the largest scale that we have, which is the universe, right? The largest scale of anything that we have unravels and creates itself at the simplest level. I will create for you
because we're looking for it.
I will create for you because you're looking for it. Yeah. How deep is that, dude?
Yeah, that's that video you sent me. That video you sent me is not viewable in Canada. They don't want us to see.
Bro, are you lying?
It says, "No, I'm not lying." It says the uploader has made this video unavailable in your country.
I'm getting you a new link right now. Try that one.
Oh yeah, this one works. Yeah. All right, let me see what's going on here. And this is the oh, see, I clicked on this one, and this one, that was weird, man.
So are you watching right now?
Yeah, I see it. I see this. It's like the little white dot there above the top of the dome there.
Yep. Watch what happens to it, bro.
It kind of looks like a fireball a little bit. I wonder if it's attracted to that thing. Whoa, yeah, I just seen that. It just flew away like nothing. Yeah, that's...
Look, this is a different camera angle. Look, dude. Watch it come down from the sky and stop and shoot straight up, completely out of sight. This is the craziest thing. This is real. There are hundreds of different footages, bro. Different angles, different people.
Yeah, it just shot up out of the air, man. So it kind of looks like an orb. It's like an orb.
Yeah, exactly. Bit. An orb of light. Explain that. Explain that to your listeners. Explain what you just watched.
What? How the orb came down and then just flew up into the sky with a note, like a, I don't know, like a rocket ship, I guess you could say.
Yeah, bro. Like instantly, like at this, like
yeah.
You can't explain that. It came down, and you got to think that is one of the holiest buildings on the earth for religious places. It's been in Jerusalem for thousands of years, dude.
So it's got to have some kind of...
it's got to hold some kind of meaning, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because all it did, the ball came down and hovered over top of the temple for like 10 seconds, and then it shot up out of frame.
Maybe it was taking some kind of energy or something from the building and just, going back to wherever it came from. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, that's crazy, man. Well, we're running on an hour and 45 minutes here.
Cutting it close. Yeah, they'll cut you off at 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, 2 hours, man. So, you got any more topics you want to bring out to light?
Something super, super interesting that has to do with aliens or UFOs.
Yeah, you're here to talk, man. You're here to talk for 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
He's like, yeah, it's not easy, man.
Oh, no, it ain't.
2 hour podcast is...
No, it's not. It's not at all.
2 hour podcast is, that's a long one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll go into a couple more of these little stories I had here. Oh, here's a bit of cool information. This will actually kind of pertain to you since you live in Canada. In Alaska, they actually have discovered a pyramid made out of obsidian that is just now surfacing out of the earth. They're just now discovering only the tip of it's been discovered, like only the tip. And this is underground. Like they were digging and they found this obsidian and they started digging around it, and it's a pyramid and they've only got the top of it dug out. So check this out. They can't get any electronical equipment anywhere close to it at all. They can't get any electronic equipment close to it at all. And they haven't sent anybody down there yet, like people wise. They say that the amount of energy radiating from this pyramid of obsidian in Alaska that they're uncovering has enough energy to power the entire country of Canada.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just,
and they don't know like where.
they don't know what it is. And listen, that's just calculating the amount of energy from the tip. That's not even like, that's not the whole thing. Like, we don't even know how big it is. And like, they're just calculating like from the size of the tip and what they can see, it could calculate like the entire nation of Canada. And this is in Alaska.
So if that's creating energy above ground, I wonder if it's also creating energy below the ground. Like as the energy in that pyramid is inside the earth, if it's causing energy to flow through the inside.
Well, what makes me even more curious is I truly believe in giants and ancient civilizations. And what if they get it uncovered? And what if it's a civilization? What if there's mummies inside of it, dude, in an obsidian pyramid? Imagine the mummification process inside of a pyramid made of obsidian. I don't know what that would be.
Yeah,
like,
man.
But man. And the fact that you can't get electronics near it without your electronics shutting down is fishy to me. But it's just like everything in the world is fishy. There's so much fishy shit going on that you just don't know. You don't know anything, you know? We don't know anything. I've come to that conclusion that I just do not know anything. I don't know shit. I don't know nothing. I know a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm taking my knowledge that I do have and I'm kind of spreading it out to everybody because I love everyone on this planet and I want us all to come together collectively to be better. But like, man, I don't know shit.
That's it. That's another Terrence McKenna. That's one of his quotes. Nobody knows anything. And, you know, we really don't. We know very, very minuscule.
We know
very little.
Like, dude, I bet if you piled all of the books that's ever been written on the earth and put them on like a continent, I bet it wouldn't even take up the state of Texas. Straight up. Straight, you know what I'm saying? When you think about it in that aspect, like there's not that much fucking, like, we don't know a lot. Like, how much information do we have about the dinosaurs? Next to none, bro. Next to none. Like, we don't really know much about life, about dinosaurs and the way that things were, because like nobody fucking lived back then, bro. Like, that we know of. But discovery is like we were talking about the Cro-Magnon. Those people lived 200,000 years ago. I don't know. I don't even know when the dinosaurs were on the earth. It's been so long since I researched dinosaurs. I don't know shit.
Oh, fuck. All right. So, all right, man. I guess it's time to shut her down. And unless you got some more info you want to put out there,
man, dude.
If not, man, we can shut her down and we can set up another podcast for another day and rock and roll.
I mean, yeah, dude. It's like I said, man. There's just so much shit that we could talk about, dude. We could get into the power of water. We could get into fucking. I'll have you on my show one day, man, because on my show we can really go down some rabbit holes and get into a bunch of different stuff. That way your listeners aren't getting drug all over the place because they're here for psychedelics, and I get that. But yeah, dude, it was a great conversation. I picked up on a couple things talking to you, and it was great to be here, man. Thanks for having me on so much.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank Devon from Diversity in Life for coming on the show and sharing. That was a great show, very interesting topics. Our next show will be Saturday, April 22nd, and I hope to see you there. Catch you on the next edition in the Fifth Dimension. Stay tripping.